that shot that he took in that still frame, right, and hit her in the head was unjustified, correct? Even from
you're assuming that shot hit her in the head. We haven't got the autopsy.
So angry.
If that shot or the first shot hit.
Oh, right. Well, I guess, he kind of just didn't have his gun pointing at her head and he pulled the trigger. But I can't assume that it hit her. That it hit her.
I'm so angry.
So basically what you're saying is because it's possible that the shot missed her head and one of the other ones hit her head and killed her. That is actually just not wrong, totally defensible.
Like we're going to just sit here and act like
as long as it misses.
No,
our eyes didn't just see.
It doesn't matter if another one hits, as long as that one misses.
What this is analyzed under the totality of circumstances.
Our government
officers are trained not to shoot one shot,
just
shoot several shots.
Just kill a woman in the street.
It's very likely the fact that he shot 2 or 3 or 4 is not going to make a difference.
Okay, so he was just like following the car and then shooting it through the driver's side window. Because
sure,
we can just do that now.
I mean, I don't know if he's going to say this, but his lawyer is probably going to say that he kept shooting because there was all other officers down the road. And
we can just do that now.
Neutralize the threat to his fellow officers. So.
Oh, okay. So basically, if you're driving a vehicle and there's ICE agents within a block radius, it's okay for those ICE agents to kill you because you might end up hitting one of them.
I mean, again, it's a totality circumstance. I don't know.
I just need somebody else to say, hey, yep, I'm pissed the fuck off too.
But that speculation is like gross, disgusting, and obviously gross. Because what your speculation is...
Anybody else pissed off? Thank you, Lorena.
So what your speculation is implying here is that if you're driving a car and you're within a block radius of ICE agents...
I'm pissed off.
Because you might hit them.
I'm pissed off. That's what's going on.
We don't know what the situation was there. We don't know if there was an officer on the other side.
I want to bust the windshield out of some ICE vehicles.
You picked. That was not a straw man. That's what you said. You said that, well, maybe he was justified in because there's ICE agents down the road.
You're framing it as a straw man, meaning like I would have to then defend like
ISIS killing people in the street.
That's we don't know.
You're just using that for a straw man.
We're just letting it happen.
What's a straw man?
Yeah, like setting up a easily defensible argument, so that the other person is stuck on the ground that's like easily can be taken down.
You just let them lie to us? Like really?
Your argument's not a straw man.
She's trying to run him over.
We're setting up a weak argument. I mean, I think maybe I'm not using the right verbiage for me to make that.
We're all blind. We're all deaf and dumb and blind. We're all deaf and dumb and blind. We can't see.
I don't even know what a straw man is. And it's not the argument I set up. That's the one you set up. We're going to move on to the next guest here, y'all.
We can't see, right? We can't see. We have no eyes. We have no eyeballs. I keep waking up and hoping that I'm not as angry as I was when I found out what happened. And I'm still just as angry.
This is a time to follow the law. This is not a time to hide from the facts. This is a time to embrace them, making sure that we're pushing for transparency every step of the way. The fact that
every time I'm allowed to speak, this is what comes out.
The administration has already come to a conclusion about those facts is deeply concerning. The facts that from the very beginning, they're calling the victim a domestic terrorist. They're calling the actions of the agent involved as some form of defensive posture.
And I'm trying to be quiet and respectful because my mom is in the other room.
The appearance that there is some conclusion drawn from the very beginning. If not, hide from the facts.
No!
If it's not a problem to have additional people at the table that have a deep commitment to the process and transparency and have run these investigations before, then why not include them in the process? The Bureau of Criminal Investigation at the state of Minnesota has consistently
this angry when my child is at home.
They have done so without bias. They've done so with a great deal of expertise.
So I have to sit here and stew while he's at school and get it out and scream while he's at school so I don't scare him.
Many of them have been police officers themselves. So our ask is really simple here. Our ask is to embrace the truth. Our ask is to include the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension in this process because we in Minneapolis want a fair investigation. Is it deeply concerning that this administration from the very get-go is drawing the conclusion that they may ultimately come to? Of course it is.
This shit is not gonna end
Then don't hide.
until somebody caps that nigga.
Experts in the process. We got nothing to hide from here. All we want in Minneapolis is justice and the truth. And speaking of the truth, let me give you another one. I have heard countless people talk about Minneapolis, many of them who have never been here as some form of post-apocalyptic hellscape, as a place that is dangerous. Well, let me give you a statistic.
Do you know what really needs to happen?
Shootings that have happened thus far in Minneapolis this year have been ICE. In other words, we've only had 2 shootings.
We need some Black Panthers. Okay, that's what we
We
need.
are a safe city.
All right,
ICE is making it less so.
we
are
need
a
armed
city of youth,
vigilantes.
But ICE is trying to divide us and tear us apart.
We need armed
All the people
vigilantes.
standing here behind me, they have more than 1,000 people behind them. They have people that are committed to their neighbors, committed to integrity, committed to justice, and committed to getting the truth.
Things ain't peaceful anymore.
Among those that won't back down from it is a person who I'm about to introduce. His ward is right.
We can't win this shit with peace.
Of where this particular shooting happened, and that is Councilmember.
We can't. I'm sorry.
Please give him a warm round of applause.
Kumbaya ain't going to do shit.
Good morning. My name is Jason Chavez, and I have the privilege of representing Ward 9 on the
And I know you don't want to hear it,
murdered Renee Good. I want to let you all know that.
but how do we get any civil rights? Any answers? Any answers?
Our families, forcing people back into the shadows,
I'll go first.
and the pure brutality by immigration.
Civil War.
The videos that we have all seen, yourself included, does not match the false narrative from the federal government. In fact, you can hear the words, "I am pulling out," moments before ICE decided to take the life of Renee Good. She was a mother, a wife, and a beloved community member, not a domestic terrorist.
Say what you
I'm
want.
calling on Trump's FBI to allow the Minnesota
Call me
police
what you
to
want.
have
Say what
access
you
to
want.
all the information so an independent investigation can occur. It is important and critical to our community to have a sense of trust.
There's a reason.
By having an independent
There's a reason why we look up to people like Malcolm X. Okay? There's a reason
But most importantly,
why we look up to people like Nat Turner. Okay? There's a reason.
echoing the calls to arrest, to prosecute and fire this ICE agent who murdered Renee Good, and to hold those accountable complicit in this crime. What has descended upon Minneapolis and in this state is not the American dream. It is not what the American dream is about. Our immigrant neighbors are here to work. They're here to provide for their family and to achieve prosperity. Instead, what we are
We need a
seeing
group of
in
people
Minneapolis and across
brave
the state
enough
is ICE kidnapping our family,
to put 10 toes down.
striving to work and kidnapping them, following people as they're heading
But
to
everybody's
school
out for themselves
or to
now.
the daycare, picking up our immigrant neighbors from bus stops. While neighbors
There's
are
no
struggling
organized
to
revolutions
get
happening.
groceries, they're picking them there as well.
And that's
I
why I'm so
honestly-
fucking angry.
Since this first happened, and I've seen too many ICE agents kidnap our neighbors from their cars. And to that, we're always going to condemn it. And as we continue to ask for justice for Renee,
Feel like I'm living
ask our community members to stay on alert.
in the wrong
as a proud son of Mexican
Era
immigrants,
or
I ask
something.
Minnesota to rise up, to do everything in their
We need
power to defend our
organized disruption. We need organized disruption. We need organized disruption.
Enforcement in your neighborhood. To get trained on rapid response so you can educate your neighbors on what is happening on your block. To provide rides to your immigrant neighbors who need to go to work, who need to get groceries,
We need people
come back home safely.
who are legally allowed to carry arms
Neighbors move their cars during snow emergencies because
out in the streets across the street from ICE.
To help your neighbors take out the trash because there are many reports of neighbors being kidnapped while they are taking their trash out. To support our immigrant-owned businesses. To drop off
This
to our children.
is what the Second Amendment is for.
They're starving.
This.
To let know that ICE is not welcome in this city and in this state.
Times like this. This is what the Second Amendment is for.
Good.
My name is Aisha Gomez. I serve as the state representative for District 62A, south side of Minneapolis, where our beloved.
When the state goes against its people has a right to defend itself with arms. This is what the Second Amendment is for.
And calling on us as a community into this
Get out there.
that our neighbors are facing. With respect to the investigation into this shooting, there's really only one question in front of us. Are we going to design a process that's legitimate or not?
Where is our reverse January 6th?
In 2020, the state legislature created the Force Investigations Unit after the murder of George Floyd, which happened right around the corner, 7 or 8 blocks away from where Renee Good was murdered. This unit was established after a long process of looking into what are the best practices when there is an officer-involved shooting.
I'm too mentally ill. Otherwise, I be at my front door.
One of the things that we learned is that if you actually are interested in public safety, if you actually are interested in the legitimacy of
Read the
law
Second
enforcement,
Amendment. Read the
force
Second
in
Amendment.
your
Read the
community,
Second Amendment. Read the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment
invest
is on your side.
accountability,
Guys.
in transparency, and in fair investigations when bad things happen. And so that's the question in front of us. Do we want a legitimate investigation that pulls
I don't do
in
pregnancy
the
readings.
professionals of the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension who are trained to do this, who have done this over and over, who have the kind
Go to
of
the doctor,
local
baby.
connections and local legitimacy
If you think you are, you are.
that the FBI could just never have because they don't have that kind of presence here? Or are we going to have a discredited farce of an investigation?
And now they can't even investigate.
And
Now
so
they're.
as a group of elected representatives who are deeply invested in the safety of our community, and thus in the legitimacy of these processes, we call on the FBI to share the evidence with the Force Investigations Unit at the BCA and have this be a legitimate and trusted investigation. Thank you.
There's no happy card readings and
I'm
shit
Hennepin County
happening
Commissioner Irene Fernando.
right now.
Bacon
Sorry.
County Commish. I use she
Just
her
like the
pronouns, and I'm
title said,
the
I'm
proud
angry.
child of immigrants. I'm the youngest woman to ever serve on the Hennepin County Board. I'm the first Filipino American elected in the state. And I'm Hennepin's first board chair of color in our 174-year history. My heart is bleeding for Renee and her family. This is an unimaginable and preventable loss. I honor Renee's humanity and life, and I acknowledge the deep pain felt by her loved ones and neighbors. The taxpayer-funded actions and harm we are experiencing right now are inhumane, unlawful, and unconstitutional. The United States due process means that justice is pursued through legal action, credible investigation, and courts, not through guns, murder, and violence.
I wish
on
I
the street.
was less disabled.
There's jarring footage that show ICE agents stage at elementary school bus stops and going door to door. Often agents are unwilling to provide a badge number or legal documentation. This is a terrifying reality for Minnesotans since we are still grieving Speaker Hortman's assassination due to the impersonation of a police officer at her doorstep. Our community has experienced a national spotlight with law enforcement shootings, which required significant change and reform on how such cases are examined, investigated, and communicated to the public. It is critical for our communities to have some sense of trust in the process in order to meet the standards set by Minnesota law and resident expectations. This is why we're calling on the federal government to cooperate with a joint investigation conducted by the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. The thought is that they would do this together, but if for some reason that is not possible, please allow new evidence for a parallel investigation. The Minnesota BCA is the only nonpartisan group to investigate robustly and effectively, in part due to their establishment of the Force
I
Investigation
can't get on here just before.
They have the expertise, they are equipped, and they are ready to pursue justice on
I can't
behalf
just
of Minnesotans.
Get on here
Alongside their
before.
own investigation, the BCA, alongside the federal investigation, the BCA can and should conduct this parallel process, which means full access to the information, evidence, and case file. Because in Minnesota, we expect that investigations are completed by the BCA to then get reviewed by the county attorney.
The
to
way my
determine if the use of
autism
force was appropriate or
is
not.
set up.
We have a process here to review force. We have full trust in this process
I'm just
and in the
stuck
county
on
attorney to
one
do
thing.
the objective review needed based on the facts and Minnesota law. The idea that our federal government would not fully cooperate with the BCA in an investigation creates even more mistrust among our community members, because we know
The
federal
fact that I'm
investigations are very rarely
living in the recreation of Nazi Germany,
our justice system.
you know, makes things a little hard. Makes things a little hard. I am trying to find something to look at. I'm so disgusted. I'm so disgusted.
In this hour,
I truly. JD Vance is, Treatler, right? JD Vance is that. And them in the future. Remember that they have to stand by these statements because this is. They have to stand by these statements because this is the one thing, the cruelty that they can't do. In the future, let everyone associate this with ICE. ICE has been an organization defined by moderation and respect for the law. You know what ICE represents is every single mistake, every atrocity, every crime, all of it gets defended. The people in ICE, they love this. They love this shit. They're probably jealous that they didn't get to kill an innocent woman. There's nothing these people want more than to kill innocent women. Do you know what the average ICE agent probably thinks of women, like as a political group, as a concept? This is what they represent, okay? All of this will be held against them when the time is right.
And defund the police. That will never be allowed to happen under this president and vice president. The Trump administration will redouble our efforts to get the worst of the worst. Criminal, illegal alien, killers, rapists, and pedophiles off of American streets. The Department of Homeland Security will continue to operate on the ground in Minnesota, not only to remove criminal illegal aliens, but also to continue conducting door-to-door investigations of the rampant fraud that has taken place in the state under the failed and corrupt leadership of Democrat Governor Tim Walz. Taxpayers have been ripped off to the tune of billions of dollars in this one state alone. And that is going to end, and people are going to be held accountable.
Did you guys see that YouTube video about Somalis?
Trump administration has activated thousands of federal agents, doubled the number of U.S. attorneys in the DOJ office in Minneapolis, and surged resources to hold fraudsters accountable and demand justice for law-abiding American taxpayers and citizens across our country. And that's what brings the vice
I want to
president
add,
out.
by the way, as this JD Vance is about to come on, JD Vance has been nonstop Twitter posting, nonstop, over and over and over and over again, defending the murder. I mean, okay, by over and over again, I mean like 5 to 10 times, but that's a lot for a vice president on a single issue. Also, a lot of them were all chained together 6 hours ago. Like he woke up this morning and immediately just fired a few off, you know? He has been getting, look, JD Vance's only job is to tweet, basically. That's the only thing that he does, right? Like, Trump can't tweet. Trump can't like argue with people on Twitter. That's not. He can't. He's not going to do that, right? That's not his prerogative. And JD Vance's rhetoric usually only works on Twitter, which is right, like what we're about to see in person. You know, it doesn't really work in person in human speech as well. But again, just please understand that what this looks like is desperation. Okay, can you imagine if Hitler had to respond this way to every murder that took place during the Night of Broken Glass? Like think about it, right? The monstrous power that he weaponized for that program was not evident merely in the killing, but in the fact that all of it was accepted as normalized social murder.
I'm so angry.
Essentially immediately, right? They have not achieved that power here. They have not normalized social murder, at least not in this specific instance.
Out here with me today to discuss all the Trump administration is doing and to make an additional.
The problem is they have thousands of Indians.
Oh, this press conference is disgusting.
Bots, Indians and so on, who are all neo-Nazis, or at least pretending to be them for 5 cents a day. Okay, Twitter is not real life. I promise you. Go to
this
any
press
other
conference
social
is
media site, maybe not
disgusting.
Facebook. Go to Instagram, whatever. Go to TikTok. Go to like the comment sections under news pages, right? Like even like Fox News, if you want. Overwhelmingly, people think this was a murder. The administration is not winning this one. It's not the same in real life. Twitter is
because it was a murder.
Bad.
Important announcement on
because
this
it
front.
absolutely was a murder.
The president will be joining us now. Thank you.
Great. Well, good afternoon, everybody. And I want to echo some of what Carolyn said about
Again,
what
just
we're doing.
incredible desperation, bringing the VP on for a fucking White House press briefing to specifically defend the murder of one woman.
Slimy,
Like, you're
slimy piece of shit. This slimy piece of shit.
That the
rampant fraud that exists in our immigration system, thanks to failed politicians and thanks to people who allow the American taxpayer to be taken advantage of for far too long. I think it's important to understand why this matters to the American people.
What?
Slimy piece of shit. Slimy piece of
Watching
shit.
AP News bot. Did they take down the bot?
Is going to be
Oh, they clipped it to clip the dead space at the beginning, but they clipped so much dead space at the beginning that it shortened the video
Taiwo.
length shorter than how far we buffered into it, basically. Okay.
nationwide. Didn't even be in this country to the American.
And this for an announcement.
And why this matters to the American people.
Okay.
I am a father of 3 young kids, a lot of kids, a lot of people in my generation. What is that going on? Is that normal? Okay.
Slimy piece of shit.
Remember when Vance's mom traded him for bread?
Oh.
So here's the simple fact here. If you're a young parent struggling to afford childcare in the United States of America, there are programs that we have to make it easier for your kids to get in daycare, for your kids to get in preschool. Those programs should go to American citizens, not be defrauded by Somali immigrants and others, make it hard for you to get the access to the resources you need. But number 2, making it easier for people who shouldn't even be in this country to fleece the United States and our taxpayers to begin with. We have actually activated a major interagency task force to make it possible to get to the heart of this fraud. We have Department of Agriculture resources that are focused on SNAP fraud so that people who need food benefits can get them, but illegal aliens and other fraudsters don't. We have over 1,500 subpoenas the Department of Justice has issued to get to the heart of the fraud ring. We've done almost 100 indictments, mostly Somali immigrants, but also a few others. And of course, we're looking in with broad investigatory authority to a number of the instances of wrongdoing that we've seen in Minneapolis. But we also want to expand this. We know that the fraud isn't just happening in Minneapolis, it's also happening in states like Ohio. It's happening in states like California. And so what we're doing in order to help coordinate this remarkable interagency effort from the Trump administration, but also to make sure that we prosecute the bad guys and do it as swiftly and efficiently as possible, is we are creating a new assistant attorney general position who will have nationwide jurisdiction over the issue of fraud. Now, of course, that person's efforts will start and focus primarily in Minnesota, but it is going to be a nationwide effort because, unfortunately, the American people have been defrauded in a very nationwide way.
I can't believe all this is because of a fucking YouTube video.
I want to thank a couple of people who is going to make sure officer nearly had his life ended.
There we go.
This was an attack on law and order. This was an attack on the American people. The way that the media, by and large, has reported this story has been an absolute disgrace, and it puts our law enforcement
Renee Good just created 1 million ICE agents or something.
officers at risk every single day.
Fuck
What that headline leaves out is the fact that that very ICE officer nearly had his life ended, dragged by a car 6 months ago, 33 stitches in his leg. So you think maybe he's a little bit sensitive about somebody ramming him with an automobile? What that headline
It's
leaves
trauma.
out is that woman
Fuck
was
you.
able to interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation in the United States of America. What that headline leaves
Sensitive.
out is
Jesus
that woman
Christ.
has
Liberal
part of a
fascism.
broader left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and to make it impossible for our ICE officers to do their job.
She
If
was
the media
dropping
wants to tell the
her
truth,
child
tell the
off
truth,
at
that a group of
school.
left-wing radicals have been working tirelessly, sometimes using domestic terror techniques to try to make it impossible for the President of the United States to do what the American people elected him to do, which is enforce our immigration laws. The President stands with ICE, I stand with ICE, we stand with all of our law
Meanwhile, at this moment in the Oval Office, New York
And
Times
just
reporters
fuck her
are showing
family.
on the laptop
I stand with
video of
ICE.
Trump
Fuck
going,
her family.
"Oh, that looks terrible."
force and officers. And part of that is recognizing that you people in the media, not everybody in this room, but many people in this room have been lying about this attack. She was trying to ram this guy with her car. He shot back. He defended himself.
No, she wasn't.
Seriously wounded in law
No, she
enforcement
wasn't.
operations before, and
No, she
everybody
wasn't.
who's been
No,
repeating
she
the lie
wasn't.
that this is
No,
something
she
that this woman
wasn't.
was out for a drive in Minneapolis, when a law enforcement officer shot at her, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Every single one of you. Questions?
Vice President, I wanted to read a quote from Tim Walz earlier today. He said, when things looked bleak, it was Minnesota's first that held the line for the nation on July 3rd, 1863, and I think we may be in that moment now. Can you comment on his rhetoric and Mayor Jacob Frey and whether they want to see unrest in Minneapolis?
Well, it's very tough rhetoric from a guy who just quit because his fraudulent activities have been uncovered. Look, Tim Walz is a joke. His entire administration, unfortunately, got his ass has been a joke. The idea that he's some sort of freedom fighter, he's not. He's a guy who has enabled fraud and maybe, in fact, has participated in fraud. That's what this new assistant attorney general position is going to find out. I don't care what Tim Walz says. I care about getting to the bottom of this fraud for the American people, and I care about enforcing the nation's immigration laws. That's what we're going to stay focused on.
Yeah. Related question here. I mean, Democrats.
But they don't care.
Murder, Americans.
They don't care if they kill innocent people. Like,
This is going to stoke the fire.
at least say that. At least say that. At least say that y'all fucked up. At least say that.
But also, shouldn't DHS sort of revisit their procedures here? Nobody wants to see America killed. Are there changes that need to be made to make sure something like this doesn't happen again?
I actually like this question because, again, he has to double down on everything. So even the most moderately framed questions, like, do you think a reevaluation of ICE training could lead to less death in the future? And his only response is, no,
Thank
the
you
training
for
is perfect.
these
Maybe if people stop being so fucking terroristic to our agents.
1,000 likes.
So, of course, nobody wants an American citizen to be killed. This is absolutely a tragedy, but it's a tragedy of the making of the far left. They have radicalized a very small segment of the population, taught them that ICE agents are.
By the way, this woman was apparently like picking up her kid from school. She was like a stay-at-home mom and was not heavily politically affiliated. They would do this to literally anyone. You know how the far right has a tradition where any time one of their guys gets caught doing something awfully bad, they all pretend that guy was offended. In reality, they're all autistic sociopaths who look really bad when exposed to the light of day. You know, it's kind of like that. By definition, if you are the enemy of the administration, you are a domestic terrorist. It doesn't matter what for, right? Like, you could be a base Nick Fuentes loving America firster who's out there protesting, I don't know, the next $20 trillion we give to Israel. And if you like slightly brush past an ICE agent and get shot for it, congratulations, you are now a radical left domestic terrorist. Look, it doesn't matter. It's like anyone. The definition of a domestic terrorist is someone the administration kills.
Since nobody looks up here.
Oh man, speaking of
unless I'm holding cards in my hands.
Autistic sociopaths who sound really bad. I saw this clip. I pull up a clip of me.
I have a new deck. Biblically accurate angels. God. Do you have a message for the weary and brokenhearted right now?
Remember what I said? The only thing these people believe in is killing people. Like, that's the only actual consistent belief they have. I can't imagine how fucking pathetic a person has
What
to
is
be
your
to
message
have so many unresolved personal grievances that they can derive
to those of us
satisfaction
who are
from just like a
so
random
angry?
woman dying for no reason? Like, they have to.
What do we do?
They have so few W's in their life that they have to take that as a win somehow.
Oh.
No. Give them the press, please. I would love to see stuff like this in mainstream media. For some reason, like, every single goddamn mask-wearing, Antifa, bike lock-wielding Berkeley protester got, like, to be mainstream news for months. Why aren't open neo-Nazis celebrating the exact positions of the administration not newsworthy?
Morning
This is
star.
really soy. You need to fuck off. Seriously. I'm sorry. You need to fuck off. Okay. Why are you? You should absolutely give attention to people saying we executed one of you yesterday. Why would you? What do you think is? The best possible thing that could happen to us is the widespread popularization of the kinds of people that Nick Fuentes cringes at when he gets donuts from them. Okay. Speaking of YouTubers, oh yeah, the man who started it all.
They came after me. They came after my family. They doxed my entire family.
How did they come after you? Be specific.
Well, they tried to
I asked for a
They tried
message.
to debunk my whole entire story.
Like Lucifer, the morning star, graces the nascent sky, and maybe
That's fucking
the most
funny.
feared
All right, back to it.
and
back to
misunderstood of all the angels. Their name means light bringer in Latin,
In wide-scale violation of
and they
people's
embody
rights.
sacred
What our ICE
rebellion
officers are doing is
as the
deporting
spiritual
the millions of
anarchist
criminal aliens that
who
were let in
ignites the
during Biden
path
administration.
to
So number one,
autonomy.
we have to say, as a
Their
matter of
lore has been
leadership, I would
perpetually
appreciate if the
reshaped
Democrats would join me on
throughout
this.
history,
Let's be honest about
like
the
a
fact
gem
that we
catching
have
the
way too many
rays
illegal
of
aliens in this
an
country.
ethereal
Our ICE
fire,
officers should be supported in
different
doing their
at
job.
each
You're
angle,
trying to
yet
actually
fascinating all
marshal
the time.
the far left lunatic fringe to engage
In the celestial rebellion,
doxing, to try to make it impossible
this
for them to
messenger's fall
enforce
from
the law,
grace
and in
was
some
not
cases actually to
a descent
engage in
into
acts of
damnation,
terrorism against our
but a
law enforcement
deliberate
officers.
strive
When you talk about different
towards
plans,
self-determination.
different protocols, different policies, I forget exactly
In
how
this
you asked the
courageous
question. Here's
insurrection,
the simple fact.
the soul
What we
finds
do
its
is
own
make it
strength,
easier for the
its
American
innate
people's
power to
administration
question,
enforce
seek,
the
and
American
redefine
people's
its
law.
essence
And that means
beyond the decree
Democrats
of
have to
ancient
stop
books
rallying
and
the mob
systems
against legitimate
of
law enforcement operations.
oppression.
And that means that we are going to get tougher, and that's what this AAG position is about. We're going to get tougher at the people who are defrauding the United States.
Not only will we not admit fault,
This
okay,
card calls for
we
you
are
to
actually
embrace
going to
rebellion
do
and
this
find
more
deliverance in
by
asking
inciting
questions that
violence
shake the
against our law
foundation
enforcement
of the
officers. That's one of the
establishment.
things that we're going to do. We've already started that
In
work
doing
at the
so, you may
Department of
demolish
Justice.
any
We're gonna keep on
obstacles
doing it, and this
in the
new
way
AAG
of the
position
answers
is
you
gonna kick
seek.
that into high gear.
Vice President Vance, you just suggested that this woman who's killed, Renee Good, is
Well,
part of a
I'll be
broader
damned.
left-wing network. Who do you think is behind this broader left?
At 11:11,
Well, it's one of the things we're going to have to figure out. But here's the way that I put it. When somebody throws a brick at an ICE agent, or somebody tries to run over an ICE agent, who pays
it's
for the
time to rebel, God said. It's time to rebel, God said. It's time to rebel, God said.
Most recent terrible incident in Minneapolis, you see
I didn't say it.
or other people who are
Eat it.
witnesses saying basically that she was there to engage in obstruction of a legitimate law enforcement operation. How did she get there? How did she learn
Metatron.
about this? There's an entire network, and frankly,
she was just
Metatron.
parked on the side of the road and was flagged by the officers to go on ahead, and then one of them fucking tried to reach into the door, but she was being told to go on ahead, so she pulled ahead, and then she got shot 3 times.
Angels don't adhere to the cycle of birth and death that governs human existence. They exist beyond it. Yet the prophet Enoch's ascension to become Metatron is an exception within a prophetical text. This rare event marks a precious instance in which a human was transformed into an angel, an evolution ordained directly by the Creator.
When an investigation is just beginning, are you preempting?
Nah, we took control of the investigation.
The
Don't worry.
presence of
I'm
this
pretty
angel in your
confident the
reading
Trump control
signifies
FBI won't
an
find any
invitation
wrongdoing here.
to access the
Seriously,
deep
we
reservoir
need the
of
Minnesota
creativity
AG
within your
to report this.
imaginal record. Embrace this chance to make ripples in reality through the art of play, whether by writing, painting, music, or any other form of art. This messenger's emanation has appeared to offer creative flow as you elevate the shape of things to go by channeling your own artistry. Get creative. Creatives.
I can believe that her death is a tragedy, while also recognizing that it's a tragedy
Artists.
for her making and a tragedy.
Writers.
Oh, again, also,
Dancers.
massive show of weakness here, liberal fascist concession. Why would you say it's
Chefs.
a tragedy if she is a domestic terrorist,
Readers.
deranged lunatic? who tried to murder.
Your time is now.
Right? Like that makes no sense in your own framework. Why the fuck
It's
would
time
you
to
ever-
create,
No one
God
would ever
said.
say it's a tragedy if like
It's time to create.
Laden type terrorist tried and failed to kill an officer, like a tragedy that they died or whatever, like an attempted suicide bombing or something. So why are they saying
Michael.
it here? Because they know it's not a fucking act of domestic terrorism. They know they're in the wrong. They're just trying to hedge their bets
Piercing
here
through
because they don't want to
pain.
like. Well, frankly, I think it's worse. It makes them look worse. If Donald Trump was up here, he wouldn't really say it's a tragedy. He would just say she's a liberal.
Archangel
This is
Michael,
over-intellectualization.
whose name
Donald
means
Trump
who is
never
like
knows that he's
God,
lying. J.D.
will
Vance
appear
always
when you
knows that he does.
need to
And he
be
acts like it.
safeguarded
So
with
he hedges his
strength
bets. He hems and he
and
haws,
courage.
you know?
They are a channel of fiery solar energies, and it is said that Michael possesses knowledge of the singular word that brought about heaven and earth. This angel is the guardian of the Southern Watchtower and controls realms of health, emotional fortitude, leadership roles, influence, and new beginnings. Michael is often depicted with a sword and shield, symbols that represent their power to protect and pierce through any obstacles standing in the way of progress. They're an angel who can slice through time with divine providence. This energy has both an active and passive side, reflecting the universe's natural balance in which creation and destruction coexist. When Michael appears in the reading, it is a sign that you're divinely protected and are being called to stand strong and have courage in the face of adversity.
Courts have not
Be
been
brave.
at all on this, and they have not clearly designated what the appropriate line is. Like you can
Be
like,
brave.
theoretically, legally,
That's it.
if a cop is
You're
menacing
protected.
illegally, you have a right to defend yourself against that.
Be brave, you are
There's, like,
protected,
asterisk
God
edges
said.
to this, you know? Like a cop can do a no in their house, kick the door down, and they have the wrong address. They're literally just kicking the door down to a wrong house. But if you turn and shoot them, like you
Rebel.
which is insane, even if they don't announce that they're police, you know? There's no
Create.
We have no we have no
Be brave.
standard practice for what happens.
Rebel, create, and be brave.
Just to follow up on that question, again, thank you for taking questions, Mr. Vice President. There's clearly a lot of emotion in Minnesota across the country over this incident. You're calling Renee Good a deranged leftist. There's been heated rhetoric that we've also heard from officials. What responsibility do you and the president have to diffuse some of the tension that we are seeing?
That means go out
Bring down the temperature as this investigation
and do some disruption.
Responsibility to do is to protect the people.
God said so.
And protect the country writ large. Whether you're Democrat or Republican, you deserve to have the people's lawful force in the United States of America. Now, again, I'm not happy that this woman lost her life. I'm not happy that this woman was there at a protest.
Ask me how I
violating the
know.
law by interfering with the law enforcement act.
Wasn't she like at her house? Like it wasn't a protest. It was just.
That's how you use your anointing.
Yeah, she was
This
in
is
her
how
neighborhood.
you use your anointing.
There wasn't a protest. She wasn't
God
in a
said, go
protest.
out
She was
there.
in her car, like the ICE cars were
Be
blocking.
brave. Create.
We
Rebel.
can all recognize that the best way to turn down the temperature is to tell people to take their concerns about immigration policy to the ballot box. Stop assaulting and stop inciting violence against our law enforcement officers. That's the best way to take down the temperature. And we're not going to give in to terrorism on this. And that's exactly what's happening. People trying to antagonize, to commit acts of
This
violence.
is a tragedy, and we don't want it to happen again. And of course, we stand. We hear the concerns of the people of Minnesota, which is why we encourage you to go to the ballot box to express them. But also, this woman is a domestic terrorist and a deranged lunatic and a threat to the United States of America, and we are all Charlie Kirk. Yeah, totally fucking incoherent. Just nonsense from start to finish.
God said, get loud.
Sometimes they shoot at them. Sometimes they dox them. Sometimes they go to their place of residence and harass their families. This is classic terrorism. And we cannot say that when a far left
You go outside.
is inciting violence against our brave law enforcement officials, that we're no longer going to enforce the law. That's rewarding
considering
And
the
you
very
getting
people
away.
who are engaged in this garbage, the actual reward that they just got is a new assistant attorney
Of
general
ICE.
who is going to prosecute and
And when they
investigate
tell
this
you to
stuff
move,
even more,
you say
even more
no.
aggressively than before.
Wow, that little
God
thing to
said,
Pam Bondi.
I
Jesus.
need to stand
The
here.
reward they got for their misbehavior, we found a new Pam Bondi, a better Pam Bondi. Jesus.
If you feel moved.
By the way, like the Dems, and I'm sorry, I know that my vote is very important to the Democratic Party. I know that it's weighted such that I basically swing the election single-handedly. But to be clear, like abolish ICE is no longer the moderate position. We need trials, big trials, lots of trials, the biggest trials you've ever seen. I don't want any of that Obama 2008 no longer, no charges brought against Wall Street bullshit. Okay, we need real trials. Big, beautiful trials.
Go outside and march and say that Michael sent you. Go outside and march and say that Michael sent you. You'll have to say that you're also guided by Lucifer and Metatron.
First of all, I wish the state officials
Go outside and say Michael sent
would
you.
investigate why you have so many people who are using
Michael
their
sent
vehicles
you.
and other means to actually interfere with the
To
legitimate.
leave their neighborhood to go and pick up their kids from school. It's fucked up. Why are so many Minnesotan mothers picking their children up from school?
The law enforcement operation. The precedent here is very simple. You have a federal law enforcement official engaging in federal law enforcement action. That's a federal issue. That guy is protected by absolute immunity. He was doing his job. The idea that Tim Walz and a bunch of radicals in Minneapolis are going to go after and make this guy's life miserable because he was doing the job that he was asked to do is preposterous. The
Go outside and
unprecedented
say
thing is
Michael
the
sent you.
idea that a local official can actually prosecute a federal
crazy that
official with
nobody
absolute
saw that.
immunity. I've never seen anything.
It's crazy that nobody saw that bit of preaching.
They think that ICE agents,
But that's
they have
okay.
argued ICE agents have absolute immunity when engaging in immigration enforcement, not qualified immunity. They've said that before. It's not the first time they've said that. They're not. I mean, legally they're not. It's just not true. They benefit from qualified immunity, not absolute immunity, but that's what they're saying. Yeah.
Like that, it would get tossed out by a judge. So what I'd like Minnesota to focus on is the real issue that they're encouraging people. Minneapolis officials are encouraging people to commit violence against ICE officials. It's ridiculous. It's
Damn straight.
Go ahead, Mr. President. Thank you.
You said earlier that there's a left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and make it impossible for ICE officers to do their job. You told my colleague just now that there's an investigation into that network.
Yep.
So if everything
An architect
is true, how does
should be
being part of that
embodied.
network justify being shot?
Well, being part of a network doesn't justify being shot.
What
but
energy should be
branding an
called
ICE
upon?
officer with your car, that's what justifies being shot. It's not a good thing, by the way, but when
I
you
really wish we had the New York Times reporters here. Somebody who would just say, "We've all seen the video. No one was rammed." Just straightforwardly, we all saw the video. Nobody was rammed. He shot into the side window. Everyone who's seen the video knows you're lying. Why do you What is the point of this?
force somebody to engage in self-defense, it's almost a preposterous question. I'm not saying that funding some of this stuff justifies capital punishment. Nobody would suggest that. The reason this woman is dead is because she tried to ram somebody with her car and
Fuck
this guy
you.
acted in self-defense. That is why she lost her life, and that is
Fuck
tragic.
you.
Now, there may be other violations of the law and other penalties that are associated with those violations of the law. For example, if you are funding violence against our law enforcement officers,
Fuck
I'm
you.
not a prosecutor. My guess is that's not the sort of thing that earns capital
Thank you for
punishment,
sharing.
but it should sure as hell earn you a few years in prison if you're funding the effort to try to assault our law enforcement officers. What is it? I'm sorry, guys. What's going on here? You guys are meant to report the truth. How have you let yourself become?
Abolishing ICE is no longer enough. What we need is the next president. I know this will never happen because Democrats are pussies, but this should happen. The ICE needs to be post hoc declared an illegitimate agency. Every criminal case that they put forward, every investigation, every crime, everything they ever did, wiped clean. like a dirty cop having previous cases wiped off their record, people getting set free, that kind of thing, you know? If you're in prison because you like tussled with an ICE officer during a protest, congratulations, you're free. They were an illegitimate police force, you know? They were basically occupiers. That's what they are. They're an occupying fascist brown shirt militia. They have no real political legitimacy. Only this administration deems them so. And presumably the next Democrats too, because again, they're massive pussies. But abolishing ICE isn't enough, you know? Like,
burn it down.
After we liberated
Burn it down,
Germany,
start
we
over.
would not have then said, but you still have to stay in prison for the crime of like, you know, spilling a drink on a Gestapo agent at the bar, right? Like you obviously, if you're declaring the old regime illegitimate, you have to wipe the slate clean.
Agents of propaganda
For the gay sort of, yeah, well, let's not do that then.
of a radical fringe that's making it harder for us to enforce our laws. You just asked me a question that presumed that the reason why this woman died is because she was engaged in legitimate protest. She tried to run somebody over.
No, she didn't!
Defended himself when that happened. Next question.
We need a reporter to bring a projector so that you can just play the video, like just hold up the projector and play the video on the wall behind.
The investigation is still ongoing.
I said next question.
I said next question.
You watch the video yourself. There's not the slightest doubt in your mind, having viewed it, that
The sword.
the victim. You still believe that she deliberately
The sword
around him despite.
is to
Please don't ban
decide.
me from the White House press school. Please don't ban me from the White House press school. Please don't.
There is a clear choice to be made.
Look, I don't know what is in it.
There's a clear choice to be made.
And obviously, we're not going to get the chance to ask this woman what was going on. What I am certain of is that she violated the law. What I'm certain of is that officer had every reason to think that he was under very serious.
There's a clear choice to be made, and you must
What I'm
make
certain
one.
of is that she accelerated in a way where she ran into the guy. I don't know what was in her heart and what was in her head, but I know that she violated the law, and I know that officer was acting in self-defense. It raises an interesting point, though. Look, if people want to say that we should have a legitimate debate about, you know, what was she really doing, right? Was she panicking when she drove into this officer, or was she actually trying to ram him? That's a reasonable conversation. What's not reasonable is for so many of you to plaster all over the media
Truth.
that this was an innocent
Hard
woman and that
truths.
the ICE agent committed murder, which is what many of you have said explicitly, and some of you have said
Hard but easy truths.
I actually can't believe you say this. Why would you ever make yourself look this weak by getting angry at the statements made by these people when they're not in this room? Why would you, like, imagine this in an interpersonal social setting where you feel like the people in the room are upset with you for something and you're having conversations with them and like everything's kind of panning out, but then you just throw your drink down and you're like, I know all of you outside of this room are saying X, and it's not true. Like it's just a ridiculous. You're supposed to confront them off that. But by doing this, he's acknowledging that nobody believes him. You realize that, right? Like their best bet here is manufacturing the consent, pretending everyone in the conservative space already
This is
believes
basically
that
the tower.
This was an attempted murder on the part of Renee Good, not
Storm.
on the part of the ICE agent. You know,
Everything
why would
that you knew to
acknowledge
be
the
true.
fact that nobody believes that?
Everything that you knew to be
Objection
true
to the
is not
idea
true.
That this was not justified is absurd.
And everything
I think
that you
everybody knows it
knew
in their heart.
to not be true is true.
Taking down the temperature, it seems like political violence is ratcheting up and riots could be around the corner. What steps does the administration have planned to try to unite America? Average people on both political sides are so tired of fighting with each other, and I think all the journalists in this room could agree with me that we don't want to be part of the problem. Do you have any words to unite America?
You know, I know you don't want to be part of the problem, and I think that's true of a lot of you. I'm not sure it's true for everybody, because the reporting over
That's
this
the
has been one of
sound
the biggest scandals I've ever seen in media. I've never
of the
seen a
walls
case so misrepresented
of the American
and misreported.
dynasty falling.
We have a guy who was defending himself and is now being treated as some sort of federal assassin by so many of the people in this room. First of all, let me say about crime.
This is
You
the fall of the
mentioned
American
crime. One of
empire.
the things we're proudest about
Good
is we saw
riddance.
violent crime over the last year drop by 20%. Why is that drop by 20%? Is it because we're attacking our law enforcement officers, or is it because we in the administration are empowering our law enforcement officers to enforce the law? I think that's one of the ways you take down the temperature, is you make people feel more secure and safe in their person and property. That's why we care so much about protecting our law enforcement, because it accrues to the benefit of the entire
Every
national
empire must
community.
fall.
I think that we can
absolutely talk about the ways in which, we can lower the temperature by discussing differences in a reasonable and rational way. Again, I'm happy to talk with any
And it's gonna
congressional
be ugly.
Democrat or any of you about our immigration policy, about why I think it's necessary, about why I think it's in the best interest of the country, about why the President of the United States was elected to actually enforce the border for the first time in at least 4 years. So here's the problem.
Every empire
That's
must
not
fall.
the debate so many people are having. They are actively covering for people who are
It's about to
committing
get
acts
really,
of
really
violence against
ugly.
federal law enforcement. It is preposterous. The way to take down the temperature
Stuff
is
that you
to stop
didn't
it.
think
Have your debates about policy.
could happen in your
Attack
lifetime,
the
and
President
it's
of the United States.
going to
Don't
happen
attack our law enforcement
in
officers.
rapid
Remember,
succession.
The explicit position of the President of the United States is that people who disagree with him are also domestic terrorists. He said that multiple times. That any kind of policy disagreement with him is tantamount to being an enemy of the United States of America. Like,
Things that
he
you
said
just read
that
about
pretty
in
clearly.
school
Not that
is
it
about
doesn't
to go
matter,
down.
right? It's liberal fascism. It's this pathetic deference to civility,
As we
right?
told you.
Yeah, I know I'm up here. I literally got pitched in here and said
We've been telling you. We've been telling you.
But basically, like, you guys, you really need to chill the fuck out.
We've been telling you.
They are trying to do the job the American people demanded that they do. That they are not policy actors. They are enforcing the law. They should be treated with a modicum of dignity and respect. And the fact
What
that they're
can the
not is
American
why
people
incidents
do
like yesterday happened. And one final point I'll make about this is
to get ready
there's a part of me that feels very, very sad
for
for
the
this woman,
fall
not just because she lost her
of
life, but because I think
civilization
she's a victim
as they
of
know
right-wing
it?
ideology. What young mother
What can we
shows up
do?
and decides they're going to throw their car
Because it's
in front of
coming.
ICE officers who are enforcing legitimate law? You've got to be a little brainwashed to get to that point.
Again, like, Trump would be so much better at this because he would not, like, think of it like an Ace Attorney case, okay? J.D.
Swift
Vance has to stack
decisions.
lie on top of lie on top of lie because he's building like a house of cards. He has to support every lie with new lies. Everything, like, there's a million factually incorrect things you could say. Trump wouldn't say that many factually incorrect things. He would say maybe 3, and the rest
Cut
of
off
it would just
people
be
you
calling
don't
her a
need.
terrible woman. You know what I mean? Like, he would just say the wrong thing and then fill
Get
the
affairs in
void
order.
with obfuscation and hyperbole, and then he would go like
Hunker
go on
down.
about whatever else. But J.D. Vance can't fucking help himself. He has to it's like Ben Shapiro shit. Logically,
If you don't know what you value, figure it out.
ICE protest. There was no protest, and deliberately use your vehicle to attempt to ram an ICE officer, which didn't happen. Then what would you call such a person other than a domestic terrorist? Like, if you just establish more and more schisms or factual errors to attack. And I think
I have
stuff
to
like this
pee.
does a lot more to convince Republicans to look at the video themselves, because it trains them, at least some of them, to focus on the facts. You know what I mean? Like, if all Trump said was, she tried to kill him, she's terrible, she's dead, whatever, that's kind of the end of it. But J.D. Vance is now inviting people to have a debate on the specific facts of the matter, which is, what gets people to actually look at the video, which a lot of Republicans have not seen, and that's not good for them. They don't want people to look at the video.
To where you're willing, not just to protest.
By the way, somebody in chat pointed this out, but I was completely incorrect earlier. I said that a New York Times journalist showed Trump the video. I was fucking wrong. Trump showed the New York Times journalist the video. We were in the Oval Office for an interview with the president, the unfolding situation in Minneapolis. Trump said, I want to see nobody get shot. I want to see nobody screaming and trying to run over policemen either. When we pressed Trump on his conclusion that the victim, Renee Nicole Good, tried to run over the agent, he asked an aide to pull up the video on a laptop in an effort to prove his point. That was a vicious situation that took place, Mr. Trump said, apparently referring to what federal officials have said was an effort by Ms. Good to run down an ICE agent. The exchange was a glimpse into Mr. Trump's reflexive decision. This is sane-washing, by the way. It's not a reflexive decision. Trump was coached on what to say here. Of what has become a sometimes violent federal crackdown on immigration, which in this case claimed the life of an American citizen who was protesting ISIS presence in Minneapolis. On Thursday, after our interview with the president, a Times analysis of footage showed from three camera angles, showed the motorist was driving away from, not toward, a federal officer when he opened fire. But on Wednesday night, Trump stuck to his account, even as we pointed out the inconsistencies in his account and the lack of clarity in videos circulating on social media. We asked if, in his mind, firing into a vehicle like that was acceptable. She behaved horribly, Trump said, and then she ran him over. She didn't try to run him over, she ran him over. Again, he's just saying this because he was told to say it. It's not, he hasn't seen the video. We told the president that the early videos circulating online were unclear. I'll play the tape for you right now, Mr. Trump said. Mr. Trump's aide, Natalie Hart, brought a laptop over to the Resolute desk to show us what he said would be evidence of the woman's wrongdoing. Would Trump do this if he had seen the video? My thinking? No. Trump was probably shown the most blurry, inaccurate, inconclusive video possible, and Stephen Miller told him, yep, ran the guy over. He nearly died. He's in the hospital. And Trump just ran with it. But then Trump pulled up a different video. Before the video began, Mr. Trump acknowledged the tragic nature of the shooting. With all that being said, no, I don't like that happening, he said before pivoting to his common refrain of criticizing illegal immigration. As a slow-motion surveillance video of the shooting played on the laptop, we told him this angle did not appear to show that an ICE officer had been run over. Well, Mr. Trump said, the way I look at it, it's a terrible scene, Trump said at the end of the video. I think it's horrible to watch. No, I hate to see it. But did this fatal shooting mean his ICE operation had gone too far? Mr. Trump sidestepped the question, instead blaming Biden's immigration policies, right? And that's why Trump is the guy you want giving your speeches and not J.D. Vance. Can you imagine if J.D. Vance had been there? Imagine how many rapid-fire, blustered lies he would have had to tell right there. He would have, if you take a look at the pixels on frame 17 of this video, you can, he would have gotten mad, he would have gotten fucking flustered, he would have gotten, he would have gotten sloppy, but Trump just, but it's still clear. He had not seen the video. By the way, how their supporters really feel? No. This guy's literally like a YouTuber or something. This is a very, very, very small cohort of clout farming neo-Nazis, okay? The majority of Republicans belong in one of two camps. There are people who have not seen the video and just believe anything they're told by Republican media or Trump. And there are Republicans who just enjoy the death and suffering of people they deem less than them. That's it. This kind of person, this openly, very, very rare. Also, he looks like Harry Potter a little bit here. Oh yeah, somebody else in chat already said it. Let's just finish up this fucking press conference.
That's fine. Not peacefully protest, but throw your vehicle in front of legitimate law enforcement officers and drive your car into them. To get to that point, you have to be, I think, radicalized in a very, very sad way. I certainly wish that she hadn't got there. I know there's an ICE officer right now who very much wishes he was not put in the position where he had to fire a gun to defend his own life.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. What's your message?
Let's give him a little bit more to regret then, huh? As long as, in for a penny, in for a pound. Let's give him a nice cell to wallow in for a while, possibly forever.
Following up on that, what's your message to the leaders in Minnesota, the governor of Minnesota, the mayor of Minneapolis, to calm down the
I don't just want ICE to be abolished, and I don't just want the ICE officers and the officials who have committed crimes to be thrown in jail. I want all of them thrown in jail. I want like Leninist shit, okay? I want every former ICE officer in the next administration to be forced to make a public vow of disavow. If they've committed no crimes while an ICE officer, they must still disavow. I want a big written apology from them. I mean it. I'm not joking. They are the brown shirts. They are instruments of the dismantling of our democracy. By their nature, they are, as far as I'm concerned, an innately treasonous organization. And that is a crime, and there are punishments for that crime. I think that it is an incredible act of generosity on my part to think that they can get away with that merely for providing, assuming they've committed no other crimes, merely by providing an essay in which they disavowed the administration, the organization they were a part of, everything. Yes, and they may never hold positions of political power again, and they will all be listed on a government-hosted database where you can at any time look them up, like a sex offender registry, You can look them up. Oh, that guy's a former ICE agent. Well, that's all you need to know about him.
Situation on the ground, on the streets. What's your message also to those protesters who...
Why not just deport all ICE officers? Okay, new condition for a Democrat to secure my vote in 2028, all right? I need them to post on Twitter those America, if they deported 100 million people pictures, and then it's like a vaporwave picture of a bunch of SoCal surfers hanging out from the 1980s or whatever. But it's not 100 million Americans, it's 20,000. America after we deport 20,000 ICE agents, and then it's like the people are wearing big shades, you know? I want like a slow reverb bass mix of Everybody Wants to Rule the World playing over footage from advertisements aired in the 1980s, and then the text superimposed. America after 20,000 ICE agents are deported. Come on, come on, come on, come on.
Saw that video in a completely different way than you saw that video.
Well, first of all, I think if you watch every angle of that video, there is one angle where if you squint, you can maybe tell yourself that it's not clear what happened.
Well, it's just ridiculous. They should have sent Trump out here. They should have sent Trump out here. I have no idea why. What is the point of lying only like 95%? What's this like debate pro obsession with like offering caveats to prove you're reasonable?
Look at all angles of that video. It is very clear that her vehicle went right for the guy. She actually collided with him. And then that's, of course, when he fired his shots. That's obvious, okay? So what I'd say to the protesters is by all means protest peacefully, but make this about ideas. Make this about disagreement with our policy. Don't use your protest as a justification or an encouragement for people to go and incite violence and participate in violence against our law enforcement officials. To the people on the ground in Minneapolis, meaning the local officials in Minneapolis from Tim Walsall down, I'd say, look, why can't you just disagree with a given piece of immigration policy without turning law enforcement into the enemy? And think about, for example, a criminal law, where a police officer goes and arrests somebody because they violated a criminal law. If you're mad about that, go and protest the politician who passed that law. Don't attack the police officer who's just doing their job. Oh, we had a wide open border.
I mean, if you insist.
I happen to think it's a good thing that President
Sorry,
United
guys.
States slows it down. If you think that's a bad idea, criticize this administration for a policy decision.
Sorry.
Don't attack our people for enforcing the law, because I
My-
guarantee you go to ICE,
my
there are black
coffee
people and white people, there are
went right
Democrats
through
and
me.
Republicans, they are patriotic Americans who are trying to enforce the law. Attack me,
Oh, went right
lay
through
off
me.
all ICE agents. Yeah, in the blue, all the way, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Vice President. You called on Tim Walz to resign. Can you lay out the case as to why he should step down?
Well, I think Tim Walz should resign because it's very clear either that he knew about
Give a shit about this.
We know that there were schools, so I should hide here. In the red tie, yeah.
Vice President Vance, I want to ask, what's your message to far leftist agitators who feel emboldened to obstruct?
But I love the North Korea era of the White House. That's great.
You know something? I don't know how people
What do you say to reports that Dragon Emperor Trump may live to 140?
sit and do
surpassing
this
human
for very
records of
long.
longevity and setting a new standard to which we all may, if God permits it, rise. Well, if you read the tea leaves, there's one small angle from which it's kind of unclear how long Trump will live. 20, 30, maybe 40 more years.
To ICE activity in Minnesota and around the country.
Well, I think they should feel emboldened because now they have an assistant attorney general who is going to prosecute and investigate.
They shouldn't feel emboldened. We replaced Pam Bondi. Oh, they hate that bitch. She's going to end up being like my favorite member of the Trump admin because she was so incompetent she couldn't get anything done, you know? Like, thank God it was her for the first year, you know? Thank fucking God.
already screamed out
Violence more aggressively than it has ever been investigated in the United States of America. We are doing
all my
so
energy.
much to try to find the financing networks and the domestic terrorism networks that legitimate this violence, that fund this violence, and then, of course, engage in the violence. These people should not feel emboldened because they have, for the first time, maybe in American history, an administration that is not going to tolerate political violence of any kind from anywhere. Yeah.
Do you think Matt Gaetz would have been more effective? Yes. Yeah, I do. Matt Gaetz was a lot more vindictive and smarter. Pam Bondi is legit. Pam Bondi is a Barbie. Like, she was a puffed up Trump lawyer who was kept around because she's like a pretty blonde. I'm not. Look, I'm not being sexist. That is genuinely what she didn't like win any cases or whatever. She was literally just brought in because Trump liked her. So,
clear to say that the entire way the federal government is behind these ICE agents and this ICE agent in particular, there's still a
I'll
federal
probably be back
investigation
on
happening on the ground. Does
a
that
little
mean
bit
that if they
later.
are not looking into this ICE agent at all, they are just focused
If
on the
you're
woman who's in the car?
able
What
and
is the investigation if the federal government has already determined that its weight is behind
willing
this?
and able-bodied
When you say investigation, do you mean
and hate
investigation of the
what's going
shooting
on, get
yesterday
the
or
fuck
the
out.
fraud that's happening in Minneapolis? Okay, look, DHS, as I understand it, has an investigation already ongoing. I know that other organs of our government are looking at this. So yes, there's certainly an investigation that's happening right now. But as part of the broader fraud investigation, a lot of what we're doing with the Department of Justice has already started. We've got over 1,500 subpoenas. We've got people this morning, actually, we're going door to door to actually knock on some of these fraudulent care centers, these fraudulent social services organizations to get to the bottom of what's going on there. So the investigation in some ways has already been ramping up into the anti-fraud element for at least a few weeks. What we're trying to do is supercharge it and make sure there's a designated person within the Department of Justice who completely controls that particular focus.
Just to follow up on that, Mr. Vice President, on the agent, is he still on duty or has he been placed on leave, on administrative leave? And what really was the target of the operation on Wednesday? The ICE operation on Wednesday?
Well, first of all, it was a legitimate law enforcement operation. We were going door to door to try to find criminal illegal aliens and deport them from the United States of America because
Door to door to try to find. Quit comparing our ICE agents to Nazis. You wouldn't be happening to hide any Somalis here, would you?
If you come to our country illegally in violation of our immigration laws, then we have the mandate, and in fact, we have the legal duty to enforce those immigration laws. Whether he's been placed on administrative leave, I don't know.
Also, to be clear, no ICE and no police can just knock door to door without probable cause. They can't. They can't just go into your home for no reason. Obviously, again, that's Nazi shit. You can't just do that. They need to have a specific reason or a suspicion that criminal activity is taking place there. And the idea that maybe you're harboring illegal immigrants does not meet that. There's not they might as well say, well, they can just enter your home if they want because they think you might be harboring like a murderer. Maybe there's no murderers happen, but maybe there's a murderer in here. It doesn't meet the standard.
That question, I'd refer it to the Department of Homeland Security and they can follow up. I will say, look, I would appreciate everybody saying a prayer for that agent. Look, in the past 6 months, he has been hit twice by a motor vehicle. One time, the first time.
The third time will be really funny.
Well, what we've done is actually gotten 2.5 million illegal aliens out without any of the really big marquee things that we've been working on. That was just simple willpower and the President of the United States coming in and saying, this is done. I think we're going to see those deportation numbers ramp up as we get more and more people online, working for ICE, going door to door. If you're an illegal alien, you've got to get out of this country, and if you want to come back, apply.
It's not just the door-to-door thing. I think it's really interesting that he specifically said online working for ICE. He's aware of the fact that the main poll they have for ICE isn't regular people looking for jobs, but internet neo-Nazis, why would you specifically be polling from online for a federal policing department? That's never been how police find people, ever. The FBI typically polls competent detectives or people with specific training or education or former military or whatever. Cops just hire the stupidest jock from every graduating class. What federal agency goes online specifically to find people? Well, that's where you find neo-Nazis. You get me?
And it led to over 30 stitches and very serious injuries to his legs. This is a guy who's actually done a very, very important job for the United States of America. He's been assaulted, he's been attacked, he's been injured because of it. He deserves a debt of gratitude, and I think the media prejudging and talking about this guy as if he's a murderer is one of the most disgraceful things I've ever seen from the American media. Yeah.
Vice President, what is your specific role in the future of Venezuela? And I'm wondering, could you confirm reports that the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, was kept out of the planning for the operations because
that is
I
true.
figure
Yeah.
I'll just keep this going for
Tulsi Gabbard was just like RFK Jr., like a guy they brought
as long
on
as
to
I
appeal
can
to a very specific kind of voter to widen the
deal
tent,
with.
but she's not needed in this administration because her whole bit was being anti-imperialist. Obviously, that's not the direction we're going down.
for the past expressed concerns about military involvement in
Doing that so long as the president asks me to do it. Every president, Democrat or Republican, believes the War Powers Act is fundamentally a fake and unconstitutional law.
Okay, we'll get to that in a little bit, okay? One thing at a time. Look, constitutional scholars have long called the War Powers Act fake and gay, and I concur with their jurisprudence.
It's not going to change anything about how we conduct foreign policy. I think this is really good for peace in the Caribbean, because when you take away a major source of illegal cartel revenue, certain people in Europe, what is the president?
All right, looks like we're done. We're done with the specific, with the shooting topic. So like this is, they're just going to keep doubling down over and over. The only thing that we can do to get back at them is with the Minnesota AG case. The entire, like, I'm not exaggerating when I say that the future of the country right now is resting on the desk of the Attorney General of Minnesota, who is no doubt already prepared the paperwork and is just like flop sweating looking at it, you know, hand a quiver. I have no doubt of this, none whatsoever. Save us, Keith Ellison. Thank you. Save us, Keith Ellison, please. Do it as a mandate. Yep. I want a trial in large part because I want the right-wing media to be forced to act like this for another year.
The woman who lost her life was a self-proclaimed poet from Colorado, with pronouns in her bio. A 37-year-old white woman named Renee Good. The Daily Mail says she leaves behind a lesbian partner and a child from a previous marriage. She was a disruptor, though she considered herself a legal observer, but there's no evidence she had a law degree.
Just keep it up, guys. Keep it up.
ICE agents.
There's no such thing as backlash. As has been demonstrated in history over and over and over again, there is no rubber band effect. You actually can just push in one direction against reality forever, and there will never be consequences.
The left believes they can do anything they want, and we're just supposed to sit down.
This is Randy Fine, by the way. This is the guy who believes that all of us were put on God's earth to serve Israel. Every one of us is just is cattle to be slaughtered at the whim of the the IOF or whatever they so please. Massive overlap, by the way, between people who worship Israel and people who think the cops should be able to execute you for no reason.
And take it. It's time for Americans to say enough. And if you get in the way of the government repelling a foreign invasion, you're going to end up just like that lady did yesterday.
All right, Florida Congressman
Just gloating over it.
Fine, great to see you this morning. I wish it was under better circumstances.
Me
Thank
too.
you.
They're like, that's great, Mr. Fine. Thank you. Please go away. Thank you, sir. They should lose their jobs for disrespecting the dead. Hey, quick question. Are we going to do like big memorial services for Renee Good, or is that only for Charlie Kirk? Are people going to lose their jobs for making fun of Renee Good's murder on social media, or is that only Charlie Kirk? Do consequences exist, or only for non-Republicans? I'm just curious. You know?
I was on a train in New York, and the same way that they say you never want to be the most famous person on the internet on any given day. Like, if you're the most famous person on the internet, you're not having a good day. Everybody's ripping you to shreds, you know? And it works the same for the train. You don't want to be the star of the train that day, because it means that you're a problem people will tell other people about for the rest of time. Like right now, right? There was this woman on the train, and I don't know what she was thinking. I don't know what was going on with her day. It's the morning, and I try to give everybody a blanket level of graciousness in the morning that we're probably not our best, right? But this woman is sitting down, and she's got a huge, genuinely too much Dunkin' Donuts coffee. It's an amount of coffee. Let's just put it this way. I've never met anyone who likes their life enough to be this awake. This is a crazy amount of coffee. You know, like I don't know. Cause look, I'll be honest with you, I'm not fully up on everything Canadian culture, and there's some things that y'all just don't do because they're bad for you. And coming from the States, we don't recognize that concept. So I don't know if you have like a big gulp 48-ounce drink that you can just buy from a place where they'll fill it up. They'll give you a gallon of soda. I don't know if that happens here exactly the same way, but that's exactly what they did for this woman. They gave her more coffee than any person should have in a 24-hour period. And she had it next to her. And then I guess she was going in her purse or backpack or something, but she let it rest on the seat, which is insane because the seats on the train in New York are built like toilets. They're built with the same level of slippery consistency, not porcelain, but kinda. It's all plastic, and there's no flat surface on a train seat in New York. And so she puts it here, and it lasts about half a second. And then it tips over. And as it tips over, almost like the reverse of dominoes, you see everyone that was sitting next to her pop up because coffee is running down the seats now, right? Everyone's popping up one by one by one by one because a couple people were watching her and they were like, she's not about to put that on self. She did. You would think it was fire the way people got up. Everyone's popping up one by one. Oh my gosh. You know, they're checking themselves, see if they got any coffee on. Everybody pops up, but the last guy, because the last guy has these big old headphones on and he's vibing. You know, he's trying to hype himself up, I guess, for work or something. You know, he just seems like one of those dudes because he had on some nice clothes, and I kind of just imagined he had this finance job that he doesn't love, but if he listens to Eminem Lose Yourself in the morning, it kind of gets him where he needs to go and powers him through at least 3 p.m., and then he only has to hate his life for 2 hours, and then he goes up. But he's vibing, and then everyone is like, yo, my man! And even as people are yelling at him, I think for a second we were all just a music video in his head. Because people were pointing out, I trying to warn him, and he was like, then all that coffee that missed everybody comes for him, right? It comes from, and you can see the moment he feels it, right? Because he's so. Oh! Then everybody hated her. Everybody hated that lady, you know, because it didn't just stop at his butt when he stood up. Remember, there's more coffee than there is water in the ocean. And so even when he got up, he soaked up a little bit of it, but now the rest of the coffee is spilling off the seats, and now it's spilling onto the floor. And all the New York train does is shift back and forth while it's going down the road. So then coffee is getting all over everything. And coffee is all over the train, on the floor, on those seats. It's everywhere except her cup. And she's just looking at her cup and she goes, oh. And everyone's staring at her. And she knows everybody's staring at her. She gives us a sheepish look up. Then she goes for the straw, and she's like, just fighting to get a drop of coffee. They gave her all the coffee they had. And she didn't get to taste any of it. And this is how aggressive New York is. There's this old lady.
The New York Times did an interview with our time we have breaking news. Brand new cell phone video we've just gotten in, showing a very different angle of that deadly Minneapolis ICE shooting. This video was obtained by Alpha News. Apparently, it is actually from the cell phone of the ICE officer who shot Renee Good. The video has already been shared on social media by Vice President J.D. Vance and reposted by the White House. I want to warn you, you will hear some expletives in this video. We don't know who says them. And just generally, the video is disturbing.
That's okay, we don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen. You wanna come at us? You wanna come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy.
Back with us, Michael Feinberg, former special agent in charge with the FBI and an MS Now national security and intelligence analyst. This is very.
I'm sorry, what? What the what?
That's okay, we don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen. You wanna come at us? You wanna come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead. Out the door. Get out the door. Get out the door.
Back with us, Michael Feinberg, former special agent in charge with the FBI and an MS Now national security and intelligence analyst. This is very different from the videos we've seen before. What do you see from an investigative standpoint?
Frankly, law enforcement officers overreacting to what admittedly might be some sarcastic and lightly combative civilians, but I don't see a situation that would require the application of deadly force. You know, the reason law enforcement officers are supposed to be vetted before they join and the reason they go through extensive training is that two of the qualities you need to exhibit the most are emotional maturity and an ability to keep your cool. And getting heckled, getting videotaped, anything related to those two activities, that's part of the job. Somebody filming you on a cell phone and giving you sass is not a threat to your life. It's not even a threat to your safety. It's a minor annoyance at best. And I'm also really curious, why on earth is a law enforcement officer filming an interaction with a civilian on his cell phone? They're not influencers,
Like what?
They're not social media posters. If you're there to do a
Why is your
job
cell phone
as an agent of the federal government, do the job. You don't need to be making content in the midst of it.
I don't want to make any presumptions, and I have not seen the posts that were made by J.D. Vance or by the White House, but I'm presuming they believe that this may support their argument that there was a reasonable belief, a justifiable belief on the part of the ICE officer that he was in danger. Do you see that?
No, I don't. And look, J.D. Vance.
We have some breaking news now out of Minneapolis. Right now, we are getting a new look at the ICE-involved shooting that killed a 37-year-old woman in an SUV, Renee Good. The video appears to be from the perspective of one of the ICE agents. Let's take a look.
That's okay, we don't change our you know. It'll be the same fight when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former. You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out the car. Get out of the car. Get out the car.
NBC News national law enforcement and intelligence correspondent Tom Winter joins us now. Tom, walk us through what you saw in this video and the perspective you say appears to be from the ICE agent who fired the shots.
It may be, and clearly heard there on the tape, there are two expletives that are uttered at the end of the tape, an F expletive, a B expletive, and we're not quite sure who said that, just so everybody's clear, who's speaking at that moment. It's now deceased. And for the moment that the car goes into drive and the shots are fired, it's less than 3 seconds as we look at it here on the video. So first thing that it points out is how quick these interactions always are. Mm-hmm. They always escalate from a certain point to the moment that shots are fired very quickly. That is something we see in a lot of police-involved shootings, officer-involved shootings, and this federal officer-involved shooting. The second thing is clearly there's some sort of a interaction here that had been going on. And this is what I've been saying since the moment on air with you, on air with everybody, since the moment that this has happened. What happened before this occurred?
Right.
What is the discussion that is occurring here? Mm-hmm. It does appear to answer some questions that we've had since this incident began, which is what was the interaction like at the car? Right. As I said on the Today Show yesterday morning, okay, so does she say something back to the ICE agents? What are the ICE agents asking?
What does it matter?
And
what does it matter?
That occurs there? Is there a statement that happens there? And now we have clarity on that, in that there is no specific statement that she utters at that moment. Right. They are clearly commanding her to get out of the vehicle. They're giving her some sort of a command. And go ahead.
Does she have to follow those commands? As someone who was there, a U.S. citizen,
does she deserve
the target of those operations at to that time, is she under a legal obligation to obey?
Typically, yes, because law enforcement has their lights on. Law enforcement is giving you a command. They're asking you.
Does she deserve to?
There's a discussion that's taking place. I know that there's going to be different attorneys that are going to weigh in on this issue, so that's why I'm giving a caveat there. I would want to know more about that from a legal expert, but typically, yes, if law enforcement is giving you a command in that circumstance, that's something to do. They're certainly not telling her to drive away.
Right.
And so there's also, a question there of whether or not they've had some prior interaction with law enforcement.
And that we don't know yet. Tom, stay right here. I want to bring in Julian and you acquired this video. What can you tell us about how you got this video and what you're hearing from your sources about what you think it depicts?
Well, of course, we can't go into sourcing on this, but this is a video that has been verified from our big team here at NBC News. This is just in, and look, there have been a lot of videos from different perspectives, but from the very beginning, we could see the officer who was involved in the shooting with a cell phone as he walked around the car, and so now we're getting it from his perspective. Unfortunately, we're not able to get a body cam. That's what we really want as journalists in this perspective, right, because body cams stay on the vest. Mm-hmm. And so when he goes to reach for the gun at the end of this video, that's when our view drops out and we just see the car. If we could have seen the vest, of course, we'd be able to get a more clearer perspective on exactly what this officer saw when he made that decision to shoot. Unfortunately, ICE does not have a mandatory policy on body cameras. They had a pilot program that started under the Biden administration, and right now, no more than 20% of ICE officers on the street actually have body cameras, and they're required to turn them on. So what we have is this, but it does give us more of an idea into the interaction between these two parties. Now, the woman you see who's speaking to the officer the most, who's out of her car with the camera, I believe, and I don't think we're going out on a limb too far here, I do believe that is the wife of Renee Good, because she so that people who are protesting them don't follow them from location to location, and they can do their jobs more covertly and presumably with more safety. And so she's saying, we're not changing. Our officers are trained. They're told also never to come at a car from the front. And you can see he walks around the car several times. Things seem to escalate right as he's at the corner of the car. So again, what we would want is a body cam footage to be able to see if that corner was aimed near him. Again, what Tom said, the expletive too, I think is really going to come out and be a big piece of this conversation. And we're bleeping this out because we're on broadcast news, but it actually shows, and it may not have come from the officer who actually fired the shot, but one of the officers nearby. It's definitely a man's voice. We've heard it. And when they're saying effing B, that is coming out of the mouths of these officers as this shot was fired. Now, we know this is an FBI investigation. We know state investigators are not allowed to look into this, so they wouldn't even be reviewing this video or drawing any of their own conclusions. They're not even allowed to interview witnesses, even though the governor would like that. But these are all the things that would normally go into an investigation, not just from the feds, but also internally within ICE to see if there was any breach of conduct here. But at this point, we don't even know that they're doing an internal investigation into this officer or if he was even placed on any kind of administrative leave, which is protocol after that. So what this video does, though, is it's the first time we've gotten this video to the perspective of that officer as he chose to fire those shots. And again, it may still serve as a Rorschach test because protesters who are on the streets of Minneapolis are going to hear those words. They're probably going to hear the version of this video that's not bleeped out. And they might say that this is a woman smiling in her car who looks cooperative. And then you have an angry ICE officer. But you may have people on the other side who say he was so close to her car when she began to accelerate. So it's another piece of this very complicated picture.
A very important piece, actually, Julia, and you're right in pointing out that there's no requirement for ICE agents to wear body cameras. So this is really the closest and most key piece of video we get from that perspective that we haven't seen yet. The body camera would have been a wide angle, it would have been horizontal, would have shown the moment that the shots were fired. But given this and the training, I've heard from multiple sources, and Tom, you can speak to this too, multiple sources in law enforcement who say they are not supposed to go in front of a vehicle and also not supposed to reach into a vehicle. You know, what is your sense there of how ICE agents are trained? And in a scenario like this, was it like an exigent circumstance where that officer needed to be in that position or the other one needed to be reaching into the car?
No.
It doesn't seem, at least based on that interaction, that there were any exigent circumstances. As far as reaching into a car, we know that the officer who fired the shots actually reached into a car in another incident 6 months earlier in Bloomington, Minnesota, and his arm got stuck between a car seat and the car frame as he was dragged 50 to 100 yards down the road. So definitely not his first time having a car incident like this. And of course, he's going to be maybe more worried that he could be injured again. He did sustain injuries.
I'm so
from
glad
previous
that
incident. But yes, the training,
the news
behind
for
this
the
would
most
say
part
that they should not escalate. I've even spoken to some people about why they got out of their
is
cars
reporting
in
this
the first place. But it does
with
seem,
some
you could feel
sanity.
this from the perspective, from the tension that you're watching build in that video, that they were really frustrated that this car was not moving. We know from Secretary Noem they've already done an operation, so presumably they've arrested someone or they've gone out to arrest someone and they were there, but they did what they needed to do when they were on their way back to headquarters. I've spoken to people who said it would be a security threat if they blocked their egress and they weren't able to exit a place. But it is clear from anyone watching even the earlier videos, there seems to be some space to go around this car. But they're visibly frustrated that she won't move.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.
All right. I guess I'll end it for now. I might be back later.